Want to welcome everyone to our presentation of the 506C investment opportunity for KO Self Storage in Cleburne, Texas. My name's Shane Boring. I'm your host today, and I'm joined by Bryce Boring, who's going to help us dive deep into the underwriting. And we have some other special members joining us on our team today. We've got Brian Plumer, we got Jennifer Boble. We also have my wife, Dee Dee Boring, who's monitoring the chat. So thank you all for joining us. And just a quick little bit of housekeeping before we get into talking about KO. All of our documents, disclaimers, everything is in the investor portal. You're going to have a link where you can go review all that. I'm not going to read the disclaimer to you. We're compliant with the SEC. We play by the rules. And this is here to tell you that's what we do. So now moving on, we're going to be looking at a quick overview of the property, going into the financials, and then the market. And we're going to talk about being very, we're very bullish on this property. And really, we're challenging people to find a better performing property than KO Self Storage because we see hundreds of deals a year, and we have lots of people that we're friends with who are running deals, and we haven't seen anything as good as KO, particularly with the current market conditions. It's located in Cleburne, Texas. If you're not familiar with where Cleburne, Texas is, it's 30 miles directly south of Fort Worth. It's 1 hour away from Dallas, so it is part of the DFW Metro. It's experiencing significant growth and has some great demographics that we're going to talk about later. The facility itself is very clean. It's very beautiful. It's Class A. It was built in two phases. It's had two owners. First phase was built by a mom and pop. Second phase was done by KO when they acquired the property. When was that, Bryce? When did they acquire it? 2018? Is that right?
I believe it was around 2018, 2019, and they finished construction on the second phase in 2022.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. It's all drive up. Okay. It's all drive up. It's all non-climate. So what this facility is, well, and all the doors are green. So all it does is make money. Okay. I mean, this facility has some of the most popular unit types. The majority of our inventory is the most popular unit types. And people love to just be able to pull up, get in, get out. When we talk about demographics, we're going to be talking about all kinds of different uses for self-storage that we've seen occur over the last couple of years that's really going to drive demand here. Getting into just a quick overview of the financials. This property is 91,500 rentable square feet. The current unit occupancy is 76%. If you look here on years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is some really great news. You'll see that our occupancy, we max out 84. That's the national average for occupancy. In Texas, it's actually a couple points higher. It's 86%. And in DFW, it's even a couple points higher than that. The average occupancy is 88%. And for our investors on this call who are also invested in our Midlothian property, which Midlothian is east of Cleburne, about 30 miles or 30 minutes. Our property there is right at 92%. So this is a high performing area. Not only is it in Texas, but it's even higher performing, and we're really excited about that. Now, I've done quite a bit of talking so far, and we promised a deep dive into the financials. Bryce, why don't you take it from the unit mix here? I kind of touched on these being the most popular types. If you kind of start out with what you see in general when you're looking at all these different properties, what's exciting about this, and then we'll continue on with the investor economics, okay?
Yeah. So what I see here that makes me excited is as much of a keep it simple, stupid property as you could possibly get. We are at 100% non-climate, which to me, the underwriter looking at this from forecasting 5 years down the line, that means we will never have to deal with any HVAC failures, and that right there is great in its own right. Then you couple the fact with about 80% of the units that are listed here are the most in-demand unit types, not just here in our own sort of micro market, but across the US. So we don't have any of those hard to fill or even sometimes to the extent of just unused units. Um, and they're going to be ones that are always in high demand and always easily replaceable, which kind of goes to the what we saw with the current occupancy. Now, whenever we first started looking at this, the occupancy was around 89%. And KO, what they do every year is they cut out the people that are paying the least and replace them with higher paying tenants. And that's what they're in the middle of right now. So even though that they have gone down in occupancy, this is actually a property that's in a better financial situation than it was when we started looking at this last year, which we can go into further on the next page. So what you'll see here is we're starting out at an occupancy that we say is 67%. Now that is based off of the economic occupancy, not the physical. And what we are planning to get to is the 84% number, right? And the reason why is because we can make this property work at a national average. And if I'm being completely honest, this isn't us completely trying to undersell, over deliver. This is something that we have to do for everybody involved, and the big one being the banks involved. They don't like us saying that we can get 88% occupancy because everyone else in the market is also getting 88%. For whatever reason, it doesn't fly with them. So we're going to the national average of 84, and it still works here. And if you go into the underwriting even further, which if you guys want to hop on to a call anytime with any one of us, we can show you guys a little bit more. But every percentage of occupancy has the potential to add maybe an extra 8 or 9% of total return over the life of the deal. So that's what we're saying whenever this thing has so much potential, is that even whenever we are aiming low, we have the ability to just hit so high.
Why don't you talk about this debt service coverage ratio? And that's a pretty strong number there, Bryce. How do we get
Yeah.
to that?
So the way that we get to the debt service coverage ratio, right, is the NOI and its relationship to the debt. So our year one number right here is 1.19. That's kind of an average of what we're seeing with all of our debt situations. And I would even say it's on the lower end. In most cases, we should be hitting a 1.3, I would say middle of the first year. And that right there is just proving to everyone how strong of an asset this is and how stable of an asset it will be. And as we go further into the hold, we actually start seeing this DSCR creep up to nearly 2x. And that means we're making twice the amount of money we need to pay the debt. And that's not just great for the potential sale of this property, but it means higher cash flows. And then if we wanted to refi into even better debt, because I know that everyone on this call, including me, is hoping that interest rates go down and everything becomes cheaper and easier to do. If we can refi into better debt, that means that the cash flow will be even higher potentially. So really, we're setting this up for just a really great future.
I hear you saying this word called cash flow. You've said that twice, and we've got cash flow down here at the bottom. But let's look at this next slide where we give an example, and we're using the entire investment amount that we're working towards, right? But here, when we look at the returns, we're actually making money right out of the gate. Similar to, like I said, if you're on deals with us on this call, then you understand that storage is great. All it does is make money, right, with the right deal. So kind of go through this if you would, please.
Yeah, and I think this is just indicative of our approach, right? we personally don't like to be in a situation where we have negative cash flow because that's a business that's not working. And what we like to see is positive cash flow very early, preferably in month one, which this has the ability to do. And we are planning on uh, having distributions go out monthly starting in month three, just to make sure that, anything that might come up in those first 2 months as things are changing, we can cover them quickly and easily. But as you'll see here, we're averaging 2.7% is kind of the goal right now in year one, going up to 6.5 all the way to about 13% by year five. And, I'm not that great at math, so I can't tell you what that means exactly without it being in front of me for the whole 2.48 million. But the cool thing about this is that if you invest 100 grand, I can tell you that that's 2,700 bucks, 6,500 and 10 bucks, and 8,500, 40 bucks, so on. And that's just really cool to see. And like I said, if we can get this up to 85% occupancy, if we can get it up to 86% occupancy, well, maybe that 2.7 becomes 4.7. Maybe it becomes even 5. Who knows? But it really is just how hard can we push this and how much harder do we think we can actually do than what we're saying?
Very strong deal. Now let's talk about the market a little bit if we can, because the market also makes this deal very strong. Cleburne was a little sleepy town for a long time, but the DFW Metroplex, the amount of growth that this area is experiencing is just incredible, really, because it's not one side, it's all sides are just sprawling out. And as we look at properties, one thing that we notice is north of Dallas and your Plano, right? North of Fort Worth, Argyle, Anna, right? Some of these, Allen, these towns, it's very expensive, right? The development out there is very expensive. Whereas south, we can get a lot better deals, right? We've noticed that quite often, right, Bryce? Just about every time it's hard to look north because it's just more expensive. Cleburne is just humming right along with growth. How many house starts are we looking at this
I
year?
believe it was somewhere around 2,500.
Yeah. So, and when you look at the income per household, the average income in Cleburne is $10,000 higher than the national average. What's even more exciting than that is the demographic age was it 4 years younger than
four
the
years
national
younger.
average? Yeah. So we have a younger, higher earning demographic, and that presents a lot of opportunities for us. Plus, what we've noticed is, the renter class for storage has seen a lot of involvement over the last couple of years. Um, where you used to, maybe have, just people in transition, whether they're, going through a change at home, they're in the military, they're putting their stuff away for a while, or they're in college, in and out. Now you've got people with side gigs. Okay, you've got all kinds of individuals who have a side business to try and make a little extra income. I give you an example. Within a 3 mile radius, I passed two on Saturday. Both had over 150 vendors each. Just little side hustles. You also have a lot of multi-generational households now where storage is necessary because there's just not room for it. You've got all kinds of people stacked on top of each other. There's a lot of remote workers today. My wife's brother, he lives in Austin, but has decided he's just going to spend a few months up in Seattle with friends because he can work anywhere. He's not paying rent. I guarantee you, he put all of his stuff in storage to do that. So storage is becoming more of a necessary item for people, and this market in Cleburne is one that we expect to do that. Plus, let's talk about tariffs and the fear over tariffs and what that's doing to businesses. Well, before we got into this tariff discussion, our research indicated that there was no new construction plan, self-storage construction, for at least 3 years. Tariffs have extended that, what would you say, Bryce? Easily 1 year.
I would say that it's at least 3 years from now at this point. Um,
Yeah.
because frankly, looking at our other facilities, we had the opportunity to add on some more units, and it's looking like it might be something that we don't do because before the tariffs ever became solidified, we were expecting there to be a 5 to a 10% increase in cost. That was what pretty much every economist was saying. And now conservative estimates are coming around 20%. So realistically, this is going to make building very hard in the near future. And it's going to make it something to where realistically, people aren't going to want to even try it because they're going to have to start hitting very, very accurately and very strong just to, make a much slimmer profit than they would.
I was at a networking lunch yesterday, and a very successful developer, ground up all the way through the multifamily, retail, restaurant. They're they're investing in films. Like they can't get anything going because the tariffs have practically shut the development down. So they're on a hard pause. So when we say find a better deal than this, we mean it. There may not be another one coming around for a while, and this one is set up to perform. And you could say, well, the tariffs may, cause some business owners to have to pull back. Well, look at the housing starts in Cleveland and all the people still moving there, plus all the side gigs and everything else that are happening. It's just a marketing problem, right? You just got to invite the people to come there. And one of the great things about this team is we've also got marketing experience, over 25 years of it. So uh, it's not going to be hard to fill it up. Let's look at the market comps. Let's finish with that. If you'll tell me kind of, Bryce, what you've learned here. Here's our main competitors. And one thing that when I look at this map that I notice immediately, I don't see CubeSmart, I don't see Public Storage, I don't see Extra Space, I don't see Life Storage. Do they think this market's not good enough for them or what?
Well, it's a combination of factors. I know, for instance, Pedigo Storage, I've met the owners and I've tried to buy their facility. They will not sell. So there's a little bit of that going on, but then there's also uh, just the nature of it where right now they have been attracted to the higher dollar per square foot areas of the DFW Metroplex. They're in areas like Melissa and Anna and Sherman, which I think are odd because, if you want to be next to DFW, I think it'd be better to be close to DFW 30 minutes away like we are rather than being 30 minutes from Oklahoma like Sherman is. But that's just me. Um, Beyond that, though, whenever we do look at our comps, there is no REIT presence here. And the people that are here are, for the most part, mom and pop facilities that have been going by doing things their way and it's been successful for them, but they haven't been doing it with the precision that comes from a very well run operation. And even with all that said, we are about 15 to 16% below market comps. And that is also a reason why we think that we are going to be able to make some very large rent increases. But what we're actually planning on doing is making gradual rent increases throughout the first 3 or 4 years that will catch us up to our comps so that we're never really in trouble of having to rely on big leaps and bounds that come from a aggressive rent strategy.
No. So that's it, folks. This is I mean, it's a spectacular deal. Really, it's making me stutter. That's how good it is. We're gonna end the recording here so we can take questions. But if you do want to take a further deep dive, reach out to who invited you individually, and we're more than happy to do that. And we're more than happy to put this against any other opportunity. So we encourage you to engage quickly, ask your questions about it, verify if this is the right opportunity for you. We feel very strongly about how this is going to perform. We're very excited. Thank you again for joining us, and now we'll take questions.